Let's go back in time to 2015. A pretty stark warning was issued back then, one that, well, it feels incredibly prophetic now. It asked a really simple question. What if the next huge catastrophe wasn't from missiles, but from microbes?
You know, for most of the last century, our biggest collective fear was nuclear war. We poured trillions of dollars into defense, into bunkers, into deterrence, but we were busy preparing for the wrong enemy. The threat we almost completely ignored was the one we couldn't even see coming: a global pandemic.
And there it is. That's the core of the warning right there. The next thing that could kill over 10 million people, it wouldn't be a war, but a virus. And here's the real kicker. While we spent a fortune on military defense, we invested next to nothing in a system to stop an epidemic. We just weren't ready.
So how did we know we were so unprepared? Well, we'd actually just had a kind of dress rehearsal, the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. And you could say it was a test that the world pretty much failed.
The diagnosis of the problem was, frankly, shocking. See, the issue wasn't that we had a system that just needed a few tweaks to work better. Nope. The issue was that when it came to a global pandemic response, there was no system at all. Just an empty void.
And when you really break it down, the failures were just basic things. We didn't have a team of epidemiologists just on standby, ready to go. Case reports were literally being written down on paper, which created these huge delays. There were no medical teams ready to deploy at a moment's notice. It was a total scramble, not a plan.
It kind of makes you think of the movies, right? Some crack team of scientists swoops in and just saves the world in about 2 hours. But the gap between that Hollywood fantasy and the sobering reality on the ground, it was huge. The real response was slow, it was messy, and it was completely under-resourced.
Okay, so if the system was such a mess, why didn't Ebola become a worldwide disaster? Well, the uncomfortable truth is, we didn't outsmart it. We just got lucky. Really, really lucky.
So what actually stopped Ebola? Well, it came down to three main things. First, the absolutely heroic work of the local health workers on the ground. Second, the nature of the virus itself. Thankfully, it wasn't airborne, and people who were infected were usually too sick to travel very far. And third, just pure dumb luck. It never really exploded in a major city.
And this leads to the terrifying, obvious next question. What happens when the next virus is way more contagious? What happens when it spreads through the air and infected people feel just fine enough to hop on a plane or go to the market? What happens when our luck finally runs out?
The thing is, we don't even have to imagine it. We have a historical blueprint for this exact scenario. The Spanish flu of 1918. It was an airborne virus that spread with terrifying speed across a world that was way less connected than ours is today. It's the model for what a true global pandemic really looks like.
And the result? Over 30 million deaths. Just let that sink in for a second. That is the kind of scale we're talking about. So the problem is crystal clear, and the stakes are terrifyingly high. But this wasn't just some prophecy of doom and gloom. It was a call to action, and it came with a clear plan for how we could actually prepare for the future.
The whole solution starts with this really simple but powerful idea. Let's treat epidemics with the same seriousness that we treat war. I mean, we run war games all the time to find our military weaknesses. So, why not run germ games to find the fatal flaws in our public health response? And the plan was incredibly specific. It's basically a 5-point checklist. First, build strong local health systems everywhere, because that's how you spot an outbreak early. Second, create a medical reserve corps, ready to deploy in an instant. Third, pair those medical teams with the military, because nobody does logistics and speed better. Fourth, run those germ game simulations to find the weak spots before it's too late. And fifth, pour money into R&D for new vaccines and diagnostics.
But look, this isn't just about saving lives, as critical as that is. It's also about the money, because the cost of being unprepared is absolutely astronomical compared to the investment in getting ready.
The World Bank actually ran the numbers on this, and the financial damage from a major global pandemic would be unlike anything we've ever seen before. It's a massive threat, not just to our health, but to the entire global economy. $3 trillion. That was the estimated hit to global wealth. That's a 3 with 12 zeros after it. When you're staring at a number like that, the cost of getting prepared suddenly seems like the smartest investment you could possibly make.
Now, the point of all this isn't to make you panic. It's not about hoarding cans of spaghetti or hiding in a basement. It's about recognizing a very clear and present danger and taking rational, organized steps to prepare for it as a global community. We just need to get going.
You know, the Ebola crisis, for all of its tragedy, was basically the world's fire alarm. It was a small fire that showed us just how flammable our entire house was. It was our final wake-up call.
So the warning was given loud and clear way back in 2015. The blueprint for what could happen and the plan to prevent it were all laid out for everyone to see. The only question that really matters today is, are we finally listening?